Velnara's 6 eyes scanned the ancient data crystal for the 100th time. Her thin fingers trembled as she held it up to the light of the archive chamber. The Galactic Council of Harmony needed a miracle, and she was running out of places to look. Outside the Grand Archive, the galaxy was dying. The Void Ravagers had awakened after sleeping for millions of years. They were not alive, not truly. They were machines, ancient and hungry, sweeping across star systems like a plague. Wherever they went, they consumed. Planets turned to dust. Stars dimmed and died. Entire civilizations vanished in days. The Council had tried everything. Their weapons barely scratched the machines' hulls. Their shields failed within minutes. Their best scientists had no answers. In 3 months, the Ravagers had destroyed 47 worlds. At this rate, the entire galaxy had maybe a year left. Velnara was an archivist, not a warrior. She spent her days with old books and forgotten files. But even she knew what extinction looked like. She had been searching the deepest, oldest records for anything that might help. And finally, buried in a file so old it was written in a dead language, she found something: the Guardians. According to the file, long ago, the galaxy had faced another great threat. Back then, mysterious protectors had appeared and saved everyone. The file called them Guardians. It said they came from the core worlds, the oldest and most powerful civilizations. The file also contained instructions for a beacon, a way to call the Guardians when the galaxy needed them most. Velnara brought the crystal to the Council immediately. The Council chamber was chaos. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the room, all talking at once. Some were crying. Others were shouting. Fear hung in the air like smoke. High Chancellor Moratek raised his forearms for silence. He was a Kellan, tall and dignified, with silver skin that gleamed under the lights. But today even he looked tired, defeated. Archivist Velnara has found something, he announced. We will listen. Velnara's voice shook as she explained. The ancient beacon, the Guardians who had saved the galaxy before, the instructions that still existed in the old files. When she finished, the chamber was silent. How do we know this will work? Someone asked. This file is millions of years old. We don't, Velnara admitted. But we have no other options. The vote was quick. They had nothing to lose. The Council authorized the beacon immediately. It took 3 days to build it according to the ancient plans. The technology was strange, older than anything they had seen. But the Council's best engineers worked without rest, translating ancient measurements and combining parts from a dozen different worlds. When it was ready, they placed it on the largest communications array in the galaxy. Velnara personally entered the activation codes, her fingers tracing symbols she had memorized from the crystal. Coordinates locked, the engineer said. Targeting the core worlds as specified. Send the message, Chancellor Moratek ordered. The beacon hummed to life. Energy poured through it, more power than most planets used in a year. A signal burst out across space faster than light, carrying a simple message. The galaxy is dying. We need the Guardians. Please help us. For a moment, everyone held their breath. Then the engineer's face went pale. His scales turned from blue to white in seconds. What is it? Velnara asked. The coordinates, he whispered. They're wrong. The star charts in the file were outdated. The core worlds have moved. The drift over millions of years. I didn't account for it. Where did the signal go? Chancellor Moratek demanded. The engineer's hands flew across his console. His eyes went wide with horror. It went to the quarantine zone. Sector 7182, the restricted area. The chamber erupted. Everyone knew about the quarantine zones. They were parts of space that were marked as too dangerous to enter. Some had black holes. Some had deadly radiation. Some had diseases that could wipe out entire species. The galaxy had dozens of quarantine zones, and everyone knew to stay away. Which one is Sector 7182? Velnara asked quietly. The engineer pulled up the file. His voice was barely a whisper. Death World, Extreme Hazard Class 12, Warning Level Maximum. Status: do not approach under any circumstances. What's in there? Someone shouted. The engineer scrolled through the warnings. High gravity. Toxic atmosphere composition. Extreme weather patterns. Aggressive microbiology. Predator-dominant ecosystem. He paused. And an intelligent species. They call themselves humans. The word sent a chill through the chamber. Everyone had heard the stories. Deathworlders were rare in the galaxy. Most species evolved on peaceful planets with gentle weather and calm environments. But sometimes life crawled out of hell itself. Those species were different, dangerous, wrong. What do we know about humans? Chancellor Moratek asked. Velnara pulled up what little information existed. They're pre-FTL, or they were during the last census 300 years ago. The survey team that found their world barely survived. They reported that the planet was so dangerous that even landing was nearly impossible. Earthquakes, hurricanes, volcanoes, and the life forms. She swallowed. The humans were persistence predators. They hunted by chasing prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. The survey team called them unkillable. Did they try to communicate? Someone asked. Yes, the humans were curious but aggressive. They had just finished a massive war among themselves. The survey team left quickly and recommended quarantine. The report concluded that if humans ever reached space, they would be extremely dangerous. The chamber was silent. Then someone laughed, a bitter sound. So we tried to call the legendary guardians, and instead we called monsters from a death world. Perfect. Just perfect. We need to send another message, Chancellor Moratek said. Tell them it was a mistake. Tell them to ignore our call. But the engineer shook his head. The beacon burned out. It was designed for one use only. We can't send another signal. Then we wait and hope they don't respond, Moratek said. They didn't have to wait long. 2 weeks later, alarms screamed across the council station. Ships were coming out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. Big ships. Dozens of them. The council's defense fleet went on alert. Sensors scanned the incoming vessels. The design was unlike anything in their database. Brutal. Functional. The ships looked like they were built for war and nothing else. They're hailing us. The communications officer said, audio only. The languages. Translating now. A voice came through deep and calm. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Fleet. We received your distress call. We're here to help. Permission to dock? In the council chamber, Chancellor Moratek stared at the view screen showing the human ships. They were supposed to be pre-FTL. They were supposed to be trapped on their death world. Instead, they were here, with a fleet that looked like it could crack planets. We made a terrible mistake, Velnara whispered, but the Void Ravagers were still coming. The galaxy was still dying, and now the Deathworlders had arrived. Moratek took a deep breath. Grant them permission to dock, and someone find out everything we can about humans. We need to know what we just summoned. The message went out. The human ships began their approach, and across the galaxy in the deepest archives, old warnings began to surface. Warnings that had been forgotten. Warnings about a species that refused to die. Warnings about what happens when you wake up Earth. The Deathworlders were coming. The galaxy would never be the same. The human ships grew larger on the view screens as they approached the council station. Up close, they looked even more intimidating. The hulls were scarred and patched like they had seen many battles. Strange symbols were painted on the sides, words in the human language that the translators struggled to interpret. Admiral Sarah Chen's shuttle docked first. The council had assembled a greeting party in the main hangar. Chancellor Moratek stood at the front, trying to look calm. Around him, security forces waited nervously. Their weapons were ready but hidden. No one knew what to expect. The shuttle door opened with a hiss. Vapor poured out, and then the human stepped through. Velnara felt her breath catch. She had seen pictures, but pictures didn't prepare you for the reality. The humans were tall, taller than most species in the council. They moved with a predator's grace, smooth and confident. Their eyes faced forward, the mark of hunters. Their bodies looked dense, packed with muscle that seemed excessive for their size. But what struck Velnara most was their presence. They didn't look around nervously like most species visiting the station for the first time. They looked ready, alert, like they expected danger at any moment. Admiral Chen stepped forward. She was a woman of middle years with dark hair pulled back tight and eyes that missed nothing. She wore a uniform of deep blue with patches and medals that meant nothing to the council. Behind her, 6 more humans followed, all in the same uniform. Chancellor Moratek, Admiral Chen said, extending her hand. Thank you for allowing us to dock. Moratek stared at the hand. It took him a moment to realize it was a greeting gesture. He reached out carefully with one of his forearms. The human's grip was firm, very firm. He tried not to wince. Admiral Chen, he said, we appreciate your response to our transmission, but I'm afraid there may have been a misunderstanding. The Admiral's expression didn't change. A misunderstanding? Please come to the council chamber. We should speak privately. As they walked through the station, Velnara noticed something strange. The humans looked around with open curiosity, but they never stopped watching their surroundings. Even when Admiral Chen was talking to the Chancellor, her eyes kept moving, tracking every person, every doorway, every potential threat. The other humans spread out naturally, never bunching up, always covering different angles. It was military discipline, but it seemed deeper than that. Instinctive. In the council chamber, things got worse quickly. Our medical team has completed initial scans, Dr. Felnock said nervously. He was the council's chief medical officer, a small creature with too many eyes. I'm afraid the results are concerning. Concerning how? Admiral Chen asked. Your species is from a Class 12 death world, Felnock said. Your gravity is nearly twice galactic standard. Your atmosphere has a dangerously high oxygen content. Your world is home to millions of hostile microorganisms. Your people evolved as persistence predators in one of the most hostile environments we've ever documented. That's Earth, one of the other humans said, with something that might have been pride. Yes, well, Felnox continued. Our concern is that your biology is incompatible with most galactic species. You have redundant organs. Your bones are incredibly dense. Your muscle structure is designed for high-gravity environments. Your immune system is aggressively defensive, and your psychological profile suggests high tolerance for pain and extreme risk-taking behavior. Admiral Chen crossed her arms. Are you saying we're too dangerous to help you? The council members exchanged uncomfortable glances. Finally, Chancellor Moratek spoke. Admiral, when we sent that beacon, we were trying to contact the core worlds, ancient protectors we believed still existed. Due to an error in the star charts, the signal reached your world instead. So it was a wrong number, Admiral Chen said. But we're here now. You sent a distress call. We're offering help. We appreciate that, Moratek said carefully. But perhaps it would be better if... An alarm cut him off. Loud and piercing, it echoed through the chamber. Red lights flashed. A voice came over the communication system, high and panicked. Ravagers! Ravagers in the system. They're attacking Station Kelvin 9. The council chamber exploded into motion. Representatives ran for the exits. Others screamed into communicators. The view screen came alive with images from the station under attack. Velnara watched in horror. Station Kelvin 9 was a civilian station, home to over 50,000 people. On the screen, she could see the Ravagers swarming over it like insects. The station's shields flickered and died. Explosions blossomed across its hull. How long until our defense fleet arrives? Moratek demanded. 20 minutes, someone replied. But by then, the station will be gone. Admiral Chen finished quietly. She was watching the screen with narrowed eyes. How far is it from here? 4 minutes by fast shuttle, Velnara said. But our weapons barely damage the Ravagers. We evacuate when we can, but Admiral Chen tapped a device on her wrist. Chen to fleet. We have a situation. Civilian station under attack, coordinates transmitting now. Marines prep for hostile boarding action. Lightning protocol. Admiral, wait, Moratek said. You don't understand. The Ravagers are nearly indestructible. Your people will die. Admiral Chen looked at him. Her eyes were calm. People are dying right now. We're soldiers. This is what we do. But the council hasn't authorized. I don't need your authorization to save lives, Chen said. She turned to her people. Move. The humans left at a run. The council members stared after them in shock. Should we stop them? Someone asked. How? Moratek replied. They're Deathworlders. What could we possibly do? They watched on the view screens as human shuttles launched from their ships. The small craft moved fast, faster than any shuttle had a right to move. They burned toward Station Kelvin 9 while the Ravagers continued their attack. They're going to get killed, Velnara whispered. The human shuttles didn't slow down as they approached. Instead, they accelerated. They slammed into the station's emergency airlocks. Hard enough to make Velnara flinch. Cameras inside the station picked up what happened next. The humans came through the airlocks in bulky suits that looked primitive compared to galactic technology, but they moved with terrifying efficiency. They carried weapons that fired solid projectiles, ancient chemical ballistics that the galaxy had abandoned centuries ago. A Ravager machine rounded a corner, its limbs covered in cutting tools. It had just killed 3 civilians. It turned toward the humans. The humans opened fire. The sound was deafening. Bullets tore into the Ravager, sparking off its armor. The machine staggered but kept coming. The humans didn't run. They spread out surrounding it, firing from multiple angles. One human ran straight at it, sliding under its limbs, and placed something on its underside. "An explosive! Fall back!" the human shouted. The explosion ripped the Ravager apart. The humans were already moving, advancing deeper into the station. In the council chamber, everyone watched in silence. The humans moved through the station like a coordinated unit, clearing corridor after corridor. When they found survivors, they didn't hesitate. They grabbed them, carried them, dragged them back toward the shuttles. One human, a woman with bright red hair, found a group of Quellan children trapped in a classroom. The door was sealed and a Ravager was cutting through. The human didn't have time to open the door properly. She fired her weapon into the lock until it broke, then physically ripped the door open. The children screamed when they saw her. To them, she must have looked like a monster in her bulky suit. "It's okay," the human said, her voice coming through the translator. "I'm here to help. Come on, we need to move." She picked up 2 children, one under each arm, and ran. The other children followed. Behind them, the Ravager broke through and gave chase. The human didn't look back. She just ran, carrying the children, her heavy boots pounding on the deck. Other humans appeared, laying down covering fire. The Ravager fell, its legs destroyed. On the view screen, Velnara watched tears streaming down her face without realizing it. These Deathworlders, these monsters from a quarantined world, were risking their lives for people they had never met. The evacuation took 8 minutes. The humans pulled over 2,000 survivors from the station before the Council's defense fleet even arrived. They lost 3 of their own people. 3 humans who died holding doorways, buying time for others to escape. When the shuttles returned, Admiral Chen was waiting in the hangar. Her face was grim as she listened to the casualty reports. Chancellor Moratek approached her slowly. "Admiral," he said quietly, we were wrong. About you, about your people." Admiral Chen looked at him. "We're human," she said simply. "When someone needs help, we help. That's who we are, even when it costs you, especially then." Moratek was silent for a moment. Then he straightened. "The Galactic Council of Harmony would like to formally request Earth's assistance in defending the galaxy from the Void Ravagers." "You'll have it," Chen said. "But understand something, Chancellor. We don't fight the way you do. Where we come from, nothing comes easy. Everything tries to kill you. We learned to be stubborn. We learned to adapt. We learned that sometimes the only way to survive is to hit back harder than you got hit." "I'm beginning to understand that," Moratek said. In the archives, Velnara pulled up the old warnings about Earth. The videos from Station Kelvin 9 spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Within hours, billions of beings had watched the footage of humans fighting the Ravagers. The reactions were mixed. Some species called the humans saviors. Others called them terrifying. Most felt both things at once. In the medical bay of the Council Station, Dr. Felnox worked on a wounded human Marine. The man's name was Corporal James Rivera, and he had taken a hit from a Ravager's cutting tool. The wound was deep, cutting across his ribs. "This should have killed you," Felnox muttered as he worked. "The blade went between your ribs and missed your heart by millimeters." Rivera, who was conscious and refusing pain medication, grinned. "Lucky, I guess. Lucky?" Felnox looked at the readings. "Your body is already healing. Your blood is clotting at an accelerated rate. Your pain tolerance is—" He trailed off. "How are you not screaming?" "Hurts less than the time I broke my leg in 3 places during training," Rivera said. "You just work through it, Doc." Felnox didn't know what to say to that. He had treated thousands of species, but humans were different. Their bodies were built to take damage and keep going. It was frightening and amazing at the same time. In another part of the medical bay, a human medic named Sarah Okoye was treating the alien survivors from Kelvin 9. She moved from bed to bed, checking vitals, adjusting medicine, offering comfort. The aliens were scared of her at first. She was big and strange and from a death world. But she spoke softly and her hands were gentle, and slowly they relaxed. "How is your pain?" she asked a young Quellan girl whose arm had been burned. "It hurts," the girl whispered. "I know, sweetie," Sarah said. "But you're brave. You survived. That makes you a warrior." The girl's eyes went wide.
"Like you?"
Sarah smiled. "Even braver than me. I chose to be here. You didn't have a choice, but you survived anyway. That takes real courage." The girl's mother, watching from the next bed, began to cry, not from fear anymore. From relief. From gratitude. This Deathworlder, this human, was treating her daughter with such care. Across the station, other humans were spreading out, helping wherever they could. Engineers worked alongside galactic technicians fixing damaged systems. Their solutions were often crude but effective. One human engineer named Lou looked at a broken shield generator and immediately started taking it apart. "What are you doing?" the Quellan technician asked in horror. "That's a Class 5 generator. The manual says you need 3 days and special tools to—" Lou pulled out a small hammer and hit the generator twice. It sputtered and came back online. "Fixed," Lou said. "How did you—" "That's not possible. On Earth we have a saying," Lou explained. "If it's not working, hit it. If it still doesn't work, hit it harder. If it breaks, well, it was already broken." The Quellan stared at him. "That's your engineering philosophy?" "Works more often than you'd think." In the Council's war room, things were more serious. Admiral Chen stood in front of a holographic display showing the galaxy. Red marks indicated Ravager attacks. There were too many of them. Blue marks showed the Council's defense forces. There were too few. "We're losing," Chancellor Moratek said simply. "Even with your help at Kelvin 9, we're still losing overall. The Ravagers adapt too quickly. They learn from each fight, and they never stop." Admiral Chen studied the display. "Tell me about your military doctrine. How do you fight?" Moratek gestured to one of his military commanders, a four-armed Quellan named General Korath. The general brought up a tactical display. "We use long-range weapons," Korath explained. "Energy beams primarily. We avoid close combat. We retreat when shields fall below 40%. We minimize casualties." "Minimize casualties," Chen repeated. "What's acceptable to you?" "Any loss is unacceptable," Korath said firmly. "We evacuate if the odds fall below 60% survival." Chen was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Show me a battle." "A recent one. They played footage from a fight 3 weeks ago. The Council ships fired from long range, their beams sparking off Ravager hulls. When the Ravagers got close, the Council ships retreated. They fought for maybe 10 minutes before pulling back. The Ravagers claimed the system." "I see," Chen said. "May I be honest, General?" "Please. You're not trying to win. You're trying not to lose. There's a difference." Korath's scales flushed with color. Anger, Velnara recognized. "We are trying to preserve lives." "And that's good," Chen said. "But the Ravagers don't care about their casualties. They're machines. They'll throw 1,000 units at you to kill one ship. You can't beat an enemy that doesn't fear death with tactics designed to avoid death." "So what do you suggest?" Moratek asked. "That we throw lives away?" "No," Chen said. "But you need to understand something about humans. We come from a world that tried to kill us every day. Predators, diseases, weather, starvation, everything wanted us dead. We learned that sometimes survival means accepting risk. It means standing your ground even when retreating would be safer. It means taking the hit so someone else doesn't have to." She pulled up a human tactical display. "We call it acceptable losses. It sounds cold, I know. But here's what it means. We're willing to lose ships if it means stopping the enemy. We're willing to take damage if it protects civilians. We're willing to die if it means others live." The room was silent. To the galactic species, this sounded insane. Barbaric. But they were losing the war with their careful tactics. "Let me show you how humans fight," Chen said. She brought up footage from Earth's history, war spanning centuries. Humans fighting humans with a ferocity that made the Council members look away. Cities burning, soldiers charging into impossible odds. Last stands where everyone died but the mission succeeded. "We spent 10,000 years fighting each other," Chen said quietly. "We got very, very good at it. We learned every dirty trick, every desperate tactic, every way to win when you shouldn't be able to." "This is horrible," someone whispered. "Yes," Chen agreed. "War is horrible, but the Ravagers don't care about horrible. They only understand force. And humanity has spent its entire existence learning how to apply force." A young human officer named Marcus Torres spoke up. He had been quiet until now. "My great-grandfather fought in the South American War. He was in a unit that held a bridge for 3 days against impossible odds. 70% casualties. But they held that bridge and it saved 1 million civilians." Marcus looked around the room. "He told me once that everyone dies eventually. You can die running away or you can die making a difference. We choose to make a difference." Velnara felt a chill run through her. These humans spoke about death so casually. like it was just another part of the job. If we do this your way, Moratek said slowly, how many will we lose? Many, Chen said honestly. But if we do it my way, we have a chance to win. Your way, you're just dying slower. The council members talked among themselves. The debate lasted hours. Some argued that human tactics were too brutal. Others argued they had no choice. Finally, Moratek called for a vote. All in favor of authorizing human military doctrine? The vote was close, but it passed. Thank you, Chen said. Now here's what we're going to do. First, we need to change how you think about combat. Second, we need to integrate our forces. Third, we need to start hitting the Ravagers where it hurts. Where do the machines hurt? Korath asked. Chen smiled, and it was not a nice smile. Everywhere. We're going to find out what they're weak against, and then we're going to exploit it until they break. Over the next week, human military advisors spread through the council fleet. They taught new tactics, aggressive maneuvers, close quarters combat, boarding actions that made the galactic crews shudder. The humans didn't just teach theory, they led by example. In one training exercise, a human pilot named Roth flew a fighter straight at a target drone, firing until the last second, then spinning away so close that the drone's sensors couldn't track him. That's impossible, the Quellan pilot training with him said. The G-forces would kill you. Roth grinned. Only if you're not used to them. Earth's gravity is higher than standard, remember? We train in high G from childhood. This is normal for us. But it wasn't just the combat training. The humans brought something else, camaraderie. They joked with the alien crews, shared meals, told stories. They treated the galactic species not as fragile beings to be protected, but as fellow warriors. One night in the crew mess, Velnara sat with a group of humans and Quellans. They were sharing food. The humans had made something they called pizza, adapting it with ingredients safe for Quellans. Why do you do this? A young Quellan soldier asked. You just met us. Why risk your lives? A human named Garcia answered. On Earth we have a saying, no one left behind. It doesn't matter if you're human or Quellan or anything else. If you need help, we help. That's what people do. But you barely know us, Kenso? Garcia shrugged. You think we only save people we know? That's not how it works. You're a person. You matter. That's enough. Velnara watched the Quellan soldier's eyes fill with tears. These humans, these Deathworlders, were teaching the galaxy something they had forgotten. That strangers could become friends. That courage could be shared. That sometimes the strongest bond was the one formed in fire. The Ravagers were still out there, still destroying worlds. But now, for the first time, the galaxy had hope. The first joint operation happened 3 weeks after the humans arrived. The target was a Ravager staging area in the Korath system. Intelligence suggested the machines were gathering there before pushing toward the core worlds. If they succeeded, billions would die. The combined fleet jumped into the system with Earth ships leading the charge. Admiral Chen had divided the forces into 3 groups, humans on the front line, Council heavy cruisers in support, and fast evacuation ships in the back. Remember, Chen's voice came over all channels. We're not here to scare them off. We're here to destroy them. No half measures. We hit them hard and we don't stop until they're scrap metal. The Ravagers detected them immediately. Hundreds of machine ships rose to meet the fleet. They moved in perfect formation, no wasted motion, no fear. They were beautiful and terrible. All ships weapons free, Chen ordered. Let's show them what happens when you threaten our galaxy. The human ships accelerated forward. Unlike the Council's careful approach, the humans charged straight in. Their weapons opened up at close range, missiles, railguns, and laser batteries firing in coordinated salvos. The sound of it all transmitted through the fleet network was deafening. A Ravager cruiser exploded. Then another. The humans weren't trying to disable or drive them off. They were going for kills. Council ships advanced to support positions, General Korath ordered. He was commanding from a Quellan dreadnought, watching the tactical display with wide eyes. The humans were taking damage, but they didn't retreat. When a human destroyer lost shields, it kept firing. When a cruiser's hull was breached, it rammed the nearest Ravager. Are they insane? One of Korath's officers asked. No, Korath said slowly. They're committed. There's a difference. The humans pressed deeper into the Ravager formation. They fought at ranges so close that explosions from one ship damaged others. It was chaos. It was brutal. It was working. Ravager command ship identified. A human tactical officer reported. Coordinates transmitting. I see it, Chen said. All assault teams prepare for boarding action. Boarding? Korath couldn't believe it.
Admiral, that's suicide.
Maybe, Chen replied. But if we capture that command ship, we can learn how they think. And if we learn how they think, we can beat them. Marcus, you're up. Lieutenant Marcus Torres acknowledged from his assault shuttle. Behind him sat 20 human Marines in full combat armor. They looked like armored monsters, their suits bristling with weapons and equipment. You heard the Admiral, Marcus said to his team. We're going in. Intel wants prisoners if possible, but our main job is to grab their database and get out. Questions? Yeah, a Marine named Jones said. When do we get hazard pay for this? The team laughed. They always laughed before the dangerous missions. Marcus had learned it was how they dealt with fear. The assault shuttle launched from the human carrier. Around it, 4 more shuttles followed, each carrying a full Marine unit. They burned toward the Ravager command ship while the fleet kept the other machines busy. The approach was hell. The Ravagers fired everything at them. One shuttle exploded, all hands lost instantly. Another took a hit and spun off course, barely making it back to the fleet. But 3 shuttles, including Marcus's, reached the target. They hit the Ravager hull with magnetic clamps and started cutting. Human breaching charges blew holes in the metal, and the Marines poured through. Inside the Ravager ship was a nightmare. The machines weren't built for organic life. There was no air, no gravity, no light. The Marines' suits provided everything they needed, but it was disorienting. Strange angles, corridors that made no sense, and machines everywhere. Contact front, a Marine yelled. Ravager repair drones attacked. The Marines opened fire, their weapons loud even in vacuum. The drones fell, but more came. The team pushed forward, fighting for every meter. Marcus checked his tactical display. Database core should be 200 meters ahead. Chen, move it, people. They fought their way deeper. One Marine, Rodriguez, took a hit from a Ravager's plasma cutter. It punched through her armor and into her side. She screamed but kept firing. I'm good, she shouted when Jones tried to help her. Mission first. Get me to the database. They reached the core, a massive sphere of crystalline material that pulsed with data. Marcus placed charges around it while the team held off the attacking machines. Charges set, Marcus reported. 30 seconds to detonation. All teams extract now, they ran. Rodriguez, bleeding and limping, was carried by 2 other Marines. They made it back to the breach point just as the charges blew. The shock wave threw them out of the ship and into space. The shuttles caught them, magnetic field snagging the tumbling Marines. Marcus did a head count. 20 went in. 15 made it out. But they had the database fragment. The crystalline core clutched in a Marine's arms like a prize. Got it, Marcus reported to Admiral Chen. Coming home. Back on the council station, scientists swarmed over the captured database. Among them was Dr. Okonkwo, a human specialist in artificial intelligence. She worked alongside Velnara, who had experience with ancient technology. This is fascinating, Okonkwo said, her eyes glued to the displays. The Ravagers aren't just machines. They're networked intelligence. Every unit shares data with every other unit. That's how they adapt so quickly, Velnara realized. One unit learns something, they all learn it. Exactly. But there's more. Okonkwo pulled up deeper files. They weren't built to destroy. They were built to protect. Protect from what? Okonkwo's face went pale. From something worse. She showed Velnara the ancient files. Millions of years ago, an advanced civilization had faced an extinction-level threat. Something from outside the galaxy. Something that consumed everything. In desperation, they built the Ravagers, machines designed to harvest resources and build defenses against the threat. But the threat never came. The Ravagers waited for millions of years, and their original programming degraded. They forgot what they were protecting against. They only remembered their core function, harvest and build. And so they harvested everything, turning the galaxy into raw materials for defenses against an enemy that no longer existed. They're broken, Velnara whispered. The Ravagers are just following corrupted orders, which means we might be able to fix them, Okonkwo said. Or at least stop them. They brought their findings to the Council and Admiral Chen. The meeting was tense. You want to reprogram them? General Korath asked. How? With a virus, Okonkwo explained. A piece of code that spreads through their network, correcting the corrupted programming. It won't make them friendly, but it might shut them down. Might? Moratek asked. There are no guarantees, Okonkwo admitted. But it's better than fighting them until everyone's dead. How do we deploy this virus? Admiral Chen asked. We need to access their central nexus, Velnara said. The main hub that coordinates all Ravager units. According to the database, it's located at the edge of the galaxy. In the Abyss, the room went quiet. The Abyss was a region of space so hostile that no one had ever returned from it. Black holes, radiation storms, and unstable stars made it nearly impossible to navigate. Of course it is, Admiral Chen said. Nothing's ever easy. How big a force do we need? It's not about size, Okonkwo said. It's about speed. A small, fast team could get in, upload the virus, and get out before the Ravagers overwhelm them. A suicide mission, Marcus said. He had been standing quietly in the corner. I volunteer. Marcus, Chen started. I'm the best boarding specialist you have, Marcus interrupted. And someone has to do it. Might as well be people who are used to impossible odds. Chen looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded. Assemble your team. Volunteers only. Make it clear what they're signing up for. Marcus put together a team of 20 humans and surprisingly 5 Quellans. The aliens insisted on joining. One of them, a young soldier named Tirith, explained why. You humans taught us something, Tirith said. You taught us that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's acting despite fear. You've been doing the dangerous missions since you arrived. It's time we stood beside you. Marcus tried to argue, but Tirith wouldn't back down. Finally, Marcus smiled. Welcome to the team. The mission planning took a week. They would take 2 fast attack ships deep into the Abyss. They would dodge Ravagers, navigate hazards, and reach the central nexus. Then Okonkwo and Velnara would upload the virus while the Marines held off the inevitable attack. The night before they left, Velnara found Marcus standing in the observation deck looking out at the stars. Scared? She asked. Terrified, Marcus admitted. But that's okay. Fear keeps you sharp. Why do you do this? You could stay safe. Let others take the risk. Marcus was quiet for a moment. My great-grandfather told me something before he died. He said that life is about moments. Moments when you choose who you want to be. Do you run or do you stand? Do you take the easy path or do you take the right path? He looked at Velnara. This is one of those moments. And I choose to stand. Velnara felt tears in her eyes. You humans are either the bravest or the craziest beings in the galaxy. Can't it be both? Marcus grinned. The next morning, the 2 ships launched. Admiral Chen watched them go, her face unreadable. They're not coming back, General Korath said quietly. Maybe not, Chen replied. But they'll succeed. That's what humans do. The Abyss lived up to its name. The 2 human ships, Shadow and Defiant, navigated through a nightmare of gravitational anomalies and radiation storms. Normal space here was twisted, broken. Stars died violent deaths, their final screams echoing across sensors. Black holes lurked like predators, their event horizons hungry for matter. Marcus stood on the bridge of Shadow watching the sensors. Beside him, Tirith gripped his console with all 4 hands. I can't believe anything could survive here, the Quellan said. The Ravagers aren't alive, Dr. Okonkwo reminded him from her station. They don't care about survival. They just function. Movement ahead, the pilot called out. Ravager patrol. 6 ships. Go dark, Marcus ordered. Cut everything but life support. Drift past them. The ships went silent, powered down to almost nothing. They floated through the debris field like dead hulks. The Ravager ships passed within a kilometer, their sensors sweeping space. But they found nothing. The human ships were too cold, too quiet. When they were clear, they powered back up and continued deeper. It took 3 days to reach the central nexus. 3 days of dodging patrols, navigating hazards, and slowly pushing toward the heart of Ravager territory. They lost Defiant on the 2nd day when a black hole's gravity well caught them. The ship couldn't pull away in time. They vanished beyond the event horizon, all hands lost. Shadow continued alone. There, Velnara said, pointing at the view screen. That's it. The nexus was massive. A structure the size of a moon, floating in the void, covered in geometric patterns that hurt to look at. Thousands of Ravager ships swarmed around it like insects around a hive. Well, Marcus said, we knew it wouldn't be easy. Doc, how long to upload the virus? 5 minutes, Okonkwo said. But I need to be inside the structure. The nexus is shielded. We can't transmit from out here. So we go in, Marcus said. Marines, suit up. Tirith, can you handle Shadow? Yes, the Quellan said. But how will you get inside? Marcus smiled. The same way we always do. Fast and loud, Shadow accelerated straight toward the Nexus. Alarm screamed as the Ravager ships detected them. Hundreds of machines turned and gave chase. Keep them busy, Marcus said as his team ran for the assault shuttle. Shadow's weapons opened up. The human ship was small, but it fought like a cornered animal. It weaved through the Ravager formation, firing at anything that got close. Tirith flew with desperate skill, making the ship dance through incoming fire. The assault shuttle launched. Marcus, Okonkwo, Velnara, and 15 Marines rode it straight at the Nexus. Behind them, Shadow continued its fight, drawing more and more Ravagers away. They hit the Nexus hull and breached it in under a minute. The team poured inside, weapons ready. The interior was like nothing they had ever seen. Crystal structures stretched in all directions, pulsing with data. Machines moved through the space, maintaining systems that had run for millions of years. Which way? Marcus asked. Velnara checked her scanner. Central processing should be in that way. 2 kilometers. Then we run. They ran through halls that defied geometry. The Ravagers inside attacked, but the Marines cut them down. Okonkwo and Velnara stayed in the middle of the formation, protected. Rodriguez, still recovering from her earlier injury, took point. When a massive Ravager blocked their path, she didn't hesitate. She charged it, firing her weapon until it clicked empty, then drew a combat knife and jumped onto the machine. She stabbed at sensor arrays and processing nodes until the thing fell. Keep moving, she yelled, bleeding from new wounds. They reached the central chamber. It was a sphere 100 meters across, filled with crystalline structures that pulsed with light. At the center floated a core of pure data, the brain of the entire Ravager network. This is it, Okonkwo said. She pulled out the upload device, her hands shaking. Cover me. The Marines formed a perimeter. Marcus stood beside Okonkwo, watching their backs. Outside, Shadow was dying. Tirith had held off the Ravagers for as long as possible, but the ship couldn't take much more damage. Hull breaches spread across multiple decks. Power was failing. Shadow to Marcus, Tirith's voice crackled over the comm. I can't hold them much longer. Just a little more time, Marcus replied. We're almost done. Marcus, Tirith's voice was calm. It's been an honor. Tirith, don't. Tell them we stood together, Tirith interrupted. Human and Quellen. Tell them that matters, Shadow exploded in a burst of light. The Ravagers turned all their attention to the Nexus. Marcus felt tears running down his face. He wiped them away and focused on his job. Doc, how much longer? 2 minutes, Okonkwo said. Her fingers flew across the console. Beside her, Velnara worked on breaking the Nexus's final security protocols. The Ravagers poured into the chamber. Hundreds of them coming from every entrance. The Marines fired until their weapons overheated, then drew backup weapons and kept firing. Jones went down, 3 machines tearing at his armor. He triggered his grenades, taking them with him. Rodriguez, already wounded, held a doorway alone. She killed dozens before they overwhelmed her. Her last words were not one step back. One by one, the Marines fell. They died buying seconds, meters, moments. They died so 2 scientists could finish their work. Marcus stood over Okonkwo and Velnara, his weapon nearly empty. The Ravagers were closing in. He could see them climbing over the bodies of his team. His friends, Doc, he said quietly. Please tell me you're done. Almost, Okonkwo said. Just almost. A Ravager's blade cut across Marcus's shoulder. He spun and shot it in what passed for a face. Another came from the side. He blocked with his arm, feeling something break, and shot it too. Done, Okonkwo shouted. Uploading now! She hit the final command. The virus poured into the Nexus's core. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the entire structure shuddered. The Ravagers froze. Every single machine stopped moving at the same instant. Their lights flickered. Data streamed through them, rewriting corrupted code, restoring lost directives, remembering their original purpose. The chamber filled with light. When it faded, the Ravagers were still, silent, inert. Did it work? Velnara whispered. I think so, Okonkwo said. She was crying. I think we did it. Marcus leaned against the wall, his armor cracked and broken.
Shadow, do you copy?
Tirith. Silence. Any ships in the area, Marcus transmitted. This is Lieutenant Torres. Mission complete. Ravagers are down. We need immediate extraction. He paused. We're the only survivors. It took 6 hours for the Council fleet to reach them. When they arrived, they found a graveyard. The Nexus was quiet. Thousands of Ravager ships floated dead in space, and inside the central chamber 3 humans stood among their fallen. Admiral Chen came personally to retrieve them. She looked at the bodies of the Marines, at the Quellan crew who had died on Shadow, and her face was stone. "You did good," she said quietly. "You saved the galaxy." 25 dead, Marcus said. His voice was empty. 25 people who should be going home. But billions who will go home because of them, Chen replied. That's what they chose. That's what they died for. Across the galaxy, the Ravagers were shutting down. Some exploded as their reactors went critical. Others simply stopped, floating in space like monuments to their forgotten war. The threat was over. The cost was counted. The human fleet had lost 60% of its ships. Thousands of humans dead. Hundreds more wounded. Every other species in the Council had suffered losses too, but none as severe as Earth's. At the victory ceremony, Chancellor Moratek stood before the assembled representatives of the galaxy. Behind him, the surviving humans stood at attention. Admiral Chen, Dr. Okonkwo, Vilnara, Marcus, and so many others who had fought and bled. Today we honor those who saved us, Moratek said. The Ravagers are defeated. The galaxy survives. But we must never forget the price. He gestured to a memorial wall. On it were the names of every being who had died in the war. Thousands of names. Too many were human. We called for help, Moratek continued. And the Deathworlders answered. They came from a planet we feared. They brought tactics we didn't understand. They fought with a ferocity we couldn't imagine. And they died so we could live. He turned to Admiral Chen. The Galactic Council of Harmony offers Earth full membership. You are no longer Deathworlders to be feared. You are our protectors, our friends, our family. Chen stepped forward. We accept. But I want to make something clear. We didn't fight because we expected reward. We fought because it was right. Because that's what people do. Real people help each other. She looked at the memorial wall. The ones who died, they didn't die as humans. They died as soldiers, as heroes. And they died alongside Quellans, Felnox, and dozens of other species. In the end, we weren't different species. We were just people standing together against the dark. The ceremony ended. The fleet dispersed. Slowly, painfully, the galaxy began to rebuild. Marcus returned to Earth a year later. He had stayed to help with reconstruction, to train new soldiers, to share what he had learned. But finally, it was time to go home. He stood in the spaceport looking up at Earth's blue sky. He had dreamed of this sky during the darkest moments of the war. Now he was home, but he was different, changed by what he had seen and done. A group of young recruits passed by, heading to their transport. They saw his medals, the scars, the look in his eyes. One of them, barely 18, stopped.